Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Interjections. It's a new fiscal year for Inter. The mercato's in full swoon. What a time. I'm your host, Andrew. Usual crew, Irfan, Jay, Miko with me. Jay, what's up?
Not much, just enjoying England's march to the title of European champions, thanks largely in part to Jan Sommer, who failed to save a single penalty. I think Sommer is finished. I'm hoping that Yusuf Mohammed, or whatever the guy's name is, will be good because, yeah, we need a new keeper.
Miko, how do you feel knowing you're the sole reason why England is taking it home?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's how it looks like it's gonna happen. Yeah, I've been enjoying the Euros, especially England and France, showing some excellent football for us. But yeah, I liked yesterday's match, Netherlands Turkey. That was a fun match, like the first quarterfinal as well. But the rest not so much. But yeah, I'm ready.
Wow, a rare moment of Miko sarcasm there, courtesy of the French national team. You don't see that very often. Irfan, how's it going?
Good. What's with this massive continental bias? I mean, we know there's a Copa America going on where there's actually some good football being played, and we have a CONCACAF member in the semifinals. So congratulations to Canada, and Brazil just got knocked out. So things are looking exciting over here in this hemisphere.
No one to stop Canada now that Brazil's out of the way.
Exactly.
That's right. I don't know if you guys saw that, I think it's Emmerich, the guy Real bought from Santos, like the Brazilian prospect who's 16 years old. He played 90 minutes last night. Hendrick, thank you. And he completed one pass, and it was the kickoff.
It's Icardi-esque.
Yeah, he did not look.
He didn't score goals.
Yeah, he did not look that good. But I mean, he's a young kid. But yeah,
Ronaldinho was right.
Yeah,
to boycott the team.
All I know is Canada has always been the elite in CONCACAF, and glad it's finally shining through. So, want to start with the news of the week, which is Canada derivative, which is Tajon Buchanan breaks his leg in training with the Canadian national team. He's going to be out long term. I've seen a 4-month turnaround quoted, and honestly, that seems very aggressive, just given how significant the injury is. He's in a full cast. He's not walking. And it's created a new need in the squad. As we've all talked about a ton on this podcast, Buchanan is a left wing back for some reason. And Auxilio has come out and said we're going to sign someone for the left side of the team now to replace Buchanan, since we need either a wing back or a center back to replace the void. Now, it's interesting. So it seems like we're gravitating towards a center back, a vice Bastoni, so to speak. You put the vice Bastoni in, you move Augusto to left wing back full time, and that's the solution. It looks like Morata and Auxilio are working on for the left side. The one name we've been linked to quite a bit in the past few days is Hermoso, who is the former starting left center back of Atletico. He started both of their Champions League fixtures against us in Bastoni's position, more or less. The problem with Hermoso is his wage demands. He's asking for what I saw was 5 million nets, which is a salary we pay most of our starters. Like that's a very high salary for someone who's effectively coming in to be your vice Bastoni. So we've been linked to this Hermoso guy. There were reports that Oaktree are pushing back on it. They'd rather sign someone a younger profile, willing to pay a transfer fee if it means they get the wages down. So Miko, as you look at this, how do you want to tackle the left side of the defense now that we're looking for I don't want to say Buchanan replacements, but we're looking for a left center back, it looks like?
Yeah, I saw the Auxilio comments, and I think what they're doing, they're just like looking what's out there in the market, and I don't believe 100% what Auxilio is saying, that we will definitely sign the left center back, but I think they just, like I said, they're just looking what's out there, and I think we might go there, but everything is open, so I wouldn't I wouldn't bank on anything at this point. As for Hermoso, I think it's not gonna happen. He's just too expensive. I've understood it's more about him being offered to Inter than Inter being like super interested in the guy, but I could be wrong. But like you said, it sounds a bit expensive to have this kind of a player to be like a certain backup, since Bastoni is the like a certified starter for us. But yeah, it's interesting to see. Are we gonna do what Osilius said? But at this point, I wouldn't like trust him totally.
All right, so Miko thinks our management team is a bunch of liars. Now, Jay, what would you like to see done to fill this void that we're claiming is created on the left with Buchanan leaving?
I like the idea of Hermoso, to be honest. I think he's a good player. Obviously played at Atletico for a number of years now. Still not 30 yet. I think he's 28 or 29. The 5 million is definitely out of the question. On one hand, I do like the idea of signing someone younger, but our starter Bastoni is already quite young, so I don't feel the need to sign someone young purely for the sake of it. If Hermoso is at his age a better fit for the team, given his experience playing in a title-winning, title-contending top team that goes deep into the Champions League every season, then we should look to fill the void with a player of his profile and experience. Ostensibly, if anything, it might be better to sign someone on a free like Hermoso, because obviously you'd be paying more in wages, but not that there'd be a ton of resale value, but any chance to move him on later would bring in a small amount of plus Valenza. And you're always making trade-offs here. Do you buy a player for 10 million, or do you pay someone like Hermoso that money equivalent over the duration of his contract to save on our transfer fee? I think there are positives and negatives to both sides of it, but personally, I'm quite happy with the Hermoso links. I think he's a good player.
Irfan, as you look at this, we've talked a lot about a need for somebody on the right side, with maybe the idea that Buchanan's more of a right back than a left back. So are you at all surprised we're still focused on the left-hand side, given Cherby is capable of playing left center back? We do have two left wing backs, whereas on the right, the only true right wing back left is Dumfries.
Yeah, I do find that interesting. And I was thinking about that. It seems like we need like a profile of a player, but we're still kind of figuring out who that might be and what that might look like, because I don't know. I'm skeptical on relying on Darmian to be the backup right wing back to Dumfries. And for a long time, I think even now, Dumfries' future isn't necessarily certain at Inter. So it seems like there's a lot of gaps, and to react to an injury, I read that it could be up to 5 months. And that's, assuming he comes back. But in fairness, like, it's not like Buchanan played that much. So, I understand the need for like a redundancy on that side, but when you've got DeMarco, Bastoni, and you have Augusto, and you have Darmian that you can kind of deploy in an emergency situation, I still feel like our need is more on the right wing back side, and potentially somebody playing center back, because remind me, but I don't think Acerbi's signed on yet, right? For next year, or maybe he has. But I still think we need someone in the middle, and I know we'll talk about DeVry a little bit later. But to me, the need still probably seems to be right wing back and a center back. I think we could probably make do with who we have on the left wing back side. But again, I'm fine with whatever moves we make, because I think extra bodies are helpful. And I really like Hermoso's profile too. Like Jay was saying, I think what he brings to the table is really good. He has a lot of good experience. He's only 29. It's not like he's that old. So someone to bring in like that profile for free agent signing, I think it's a great move. Hopefully the wages will come down. The wages request will come down. But He's an experienced, good player. I think that would help our team a lot. I've been impressed with him. He's also scored some big goals for Atletico in clutch moments in last year's Champions League. I know he scored one. So it's one of those players where, like, if you can get him, it's a great opportunity buy. But yeah, I still think right wing back and center back are our biggest gaps.
I agree with that. And I'll just add to that, what I like about Hermoso is that he's the kind of depth signing where you're not diluting the quality too much. The drop off from Bastoni to Hermoso is not as significant as, for example, the drop off from Bastoni to Acerbi or even Carlos Augusto. Hermoso, I think, is a better fit for that left centre back role in our back three than either Carlos Augusto or Acerbi or, God forbid, Damian. And as we mentioned, having played at a top level for a number of years, it's the kind of profile you want in the team, you know, proven Champions League, proven La Liga, big game experience kind of guy, as opposed to going out there and signing some rando from Genoa, you know what I mean? I kind of equate it to the signing of, ironically, the guy who missed his penalty last night, Akanji. I remember when Man City bought him from Dortmund for quite cheap. I was quite disappointed that we weren't able to get him. Ironically, we went for a Cherby at the time, but Akanji was also kind of similarly played at a big team, plenty of Champions League experience, plenty of league contention experience, and again, when you sign players like this, you're not diluting the quality when you drop to your bench, and that's extremely important because we've seen what happens when we have to dip into our bench, or had to dip into our bench last season and play, what's his name? I forgot his name already. Klaassen or something, or Arnautovic or Sanchez. The drop off was too high. I remember last season people were saying Inter's bench and their quality is, their depth is insane. And I was thinking, you guys are insane. Like the drop off from Lautaro and Thuram to Arnautovic and Sanchez is ridiculous. It's like the drop off from a title winning side to, a team that started, if there were hypothetically a team in Serie that played with Arnautovic and Sanchez as their starters, they'd be finishing in 15th place, So the drop off is too big. But again, Hermoso would be a player that allows for a lot more kind of peace of mind rotation from Inzaghi as well. So, I'm quite a big fan of the move, but I totally agree with Irfan. Ideally, the central centre back is the bigger priority, and the right back as well.
I agree on Hermoso's quality, and the rumor is he would demand 3-year contract, which is surprisingly short in terms of his age. If he's 29 and he asks only 3 years, that's in a sense like perfect for Inter if they're signing a free agent at that age. So we wouldn't be paying so-called extra for the older guy because he would be like end of his contract at 32 already. So in that sense, that would be nice. And what Jay said about the depth, that would really like boost our depth in the defense if we are looking that way, building our squad to like compete for Champions League as well, as Hermoso has a nice pedigree in that competition as well. So yeah, I would like to see that transfer, but I totally understand if it's not coming, if Oaktree is pushing for other directions like younger players. But that would I don't know if I like that kind of a route too much, but not going to criticize Oaktree in a sense that at least they haven't forced any sales, so we keep our first team. But interesting to see what's the approach to our like how do we deal with our depth because like said, Hermoso and some younger guy, there's a difference definitely because we don't have money to buy some real quality younger guys, so they would be a bit uncertain in terms of quality if we go with the younger guys approach.
But remind me, so we have Dumfries has 1 year left on his contract, and Acerbi is a free agent, right? So I mean,
Cherby has a year left.
oh, Acerbi has a year left too. Okay,
Vrij is the issue here. He has 1 year left. He said it last night during his post-match interview where he won man of the match. But I just want to touch on that quickly. He's been better than Van Dijk at this Euro. He's been quite solid. Not 100%, not 100% bulletproof, but definitely better than Van Dijk. And I don't even know where De Ligt is for that matter. But anyway, yeah, De Vrij said it himself. He's happy at Inter. He sees himself staying at Inter. He has 1 year left on his contract with an option for a further year. So depending on how much you trust De Vrij, that's either a good thing or that's either a problem if we wanted to move him on. So he's the kind of key piece in any, we've been linked with Kim as of earlier today or yesterday. Obviously, Buongiorno rumors have been going around for a while. I don't know. Do you think he'll be the starter next season or Acerbi, or do you reckon it'll be a pretty even split? Regardless, but our ability to shift him on or our decision to stick with him is like the critical piece in all this.
Yeah, agreed. This is the most pressing question left for the mercato, in my opinion, because whoever we sign as a backup for Bastoni or as a reserve wingback, it'll be a luxury, whereas there's a more immediate need at center back, depending on what De Vrij chooses to do. If De Vrij chooses to take a final payday, then you need to sign someone immediately who can fill the void in the center, because Acerbi's turning 37 this season. He struggled at times last season, both with fitness and form, especially towards the end of the year. And there's going to be a giant gap where you're going to have to do something like you do with Sommer, where you sign someone who you view as a long-term replacement. If De Vrij chooses to stay, it sets you up for a situation next summer where you're going to have both your central center backs with expiring contracts, and then you're going to have to, I don't want to say revolutionize the position, but you're going to have to sign two players. And because it sounds like De Vrij, I don't know, you've read a lot of reports that he either wants to go home or he's considering this last payday once his contract expires. So it'd be really nice to avoid having a situation where you need two guys in the middle next season and you can sign the longer term one now. So I'm as well as De Vrij has played recently, I am hoping he accepts a move to Saudi Arabia, because it will just give us, even if it's $5 million, give us a jump start on what we need to do to reset this position. Because as you project out the squad, this is the position that's most going to need changes soon. So I'd be content with him accepting a move. You can't force him out, though. I don't think we're going to Brozovic him. His wages aren't high enough to warrant it. The transfer fee you'd get from a Saudi club is not large enough to warrant it. So hopefully we're respectful with him. You let him make the decision that's best for him, but also just fingers crossed that he accepts it and chooses to go down that path.
Irfan, any thoughts on that? You had some thought.
I don't know. I'm skeptical that he's going to take a move to Saudi Arabia. I think him going back to the Netherlands, probably to Holland, makes more sense. But I don't know. It's interesting. I'm still not convinced by the entire kind of Saudi project and the appeal to it. I mean, I know the wages are still pretty insane, but it seems like there's a lot of players who do end up rejecting going there and want to stay in Europe. So De Vrij, just like given his personality, his profile, I'm not sure how interested he really is to go to Saudi Arabia. But I do agree with Andrew in the sense that I definitely don't want to go into next season having to replace two center backs. But to me, as good as he's been, just given his age and his profile at this point, I really do think that Acerbi is the one that we need to look to kind of phase out more. I think De Vrij still has at least a couple of good years left in him, and I think the Euros performance is showing that. And to be honest, he wasn't that bad last year when he played also. I think it just took him a while to kind of get used to the system, and he had a couple of seasons where his form was pretty poor. But last year I thought he was okay for us, and so far in the Euros he's been pretty good. So I think he still has a couple of good years left. I wouldn't mind if he stuck around. and eventually got phased out into the background as a backup.
Is that
But
good enough
yeah,
for you to be comfortable with him as our nailed on starter though, while we're competing for the Scudetto and hopefully looking to go further in the Champions League?
my only concern with that is a practical one. I don't think we have the money. I don't think Oaktree is going to spend the money that we would need to buy the kind of profile we would need in that center back position. Like a young, promising player like a Buongiorno or someone. I don't think that they are going to spend the money for that type of player. Their approach, at least so far, seems to be more like, find some almost no name diamond in the rough and hope he pans out versus, looking for players who are already kind of on the upswing and, in the maybe 15, maybe like 20 to $35 million range. I don't see us using that kind of a process to fill the player void. And that's what gives me the concern. I mean, if we practically had that kind of money and we could spend it on one position, then I would say yes, that center back is the obvious place where you go out and you buy a promising young starter caliber player now. But I just feel like their business model isn't one where that's going to be an option. In which case, I would rather roll the dice with devrij and maybe Acerbi being the backup versus trying to find some no name type player or something like that taking a massive gamble on him. I think we got lucky with Bissek. I don't know if we want to roll the dice twice on that.
Well, part of the argument towards selling devrij, if he decides he wants to leave, is that you're going to get money for him and you're going to have some capacity to go out and find a replacement, whereas Acerbi has no value. No one is taking Acerbi off our hands. I don't want to say we're stuck with him because that's insulting to Acerbi, but there's no way to phase him out because he's not worth anything in the market. Whereas if you get 5 to 7 million, 10 million, I don't know, for devrij, reinvest that. I agree it's not enough for a meaningful player. You would need Oaktree to pony up something else in addition to that, but it might be enough to spur you on. And while you're not going to be shopping in the Buongiorno aisle, maybe you can go out and get a Schurz. Maybe you can get someone a small step below that. So that's obviously, of course, I prefer devrij to Acerbi in a vacuum, but just given the financials behind it, I would let devrij go if he wants to leave. Miko, what do you think of just Oaktree's? You touched on this earlier, but I want to talk about this a bit more. What do you think about like Oaktree's involvement in this mercato? We thought it was going to be pretty hands off, but them possibly intervening in the Hermoso signing. Irfan talked a bit about the type of player we've profiled so far in this mercato. What do you think their restrictions are on Morata and Osilio right now, or what do you think they're looking for from us in the mercato?
Yeah, there was this one story or or a piece of news that they would be approaching the younger guys rather than veterans, type of thing. But I don't know, is that really the case? These rumors, mercato rumors, can be like they are written by reporters in Gazzetta, and so, and I don't I don't regard them at too high value. So I don't know, is that really the case? And honestly, I don't know what to expect. I think we need to see this mercato before we can do any kind of judgments on how Oaktree is going to handle the business, because we are too early at this point. We are just I think Inter is at this point. Inter is looking for all kind of possibilities. Nothing is going on for us, probably because Euros are still going on. Copa America is going on. So the mercato, at least for us, is just in a phase that we are looking all kind of possibilities, and that's why the names come up in the, or I think that that's why the names are coming up in rumors, because we are looking around, but that maybe doesn't mean much, all the names linked to Inter, but we just try to keep all kind of possibilities open, so that when some kind of opportunity arrives, so we are ready to act based on the opportunity, whatever it is. Maybe there's gonna be some big offer for our player, and we need to act based on that, and so on. But yeah, to answer your question, I don't have any good comment on Oaktree, in a sense that I don't know what to expect from them. I think we won't spend much. That's the only thing I expect, that we will do like last summer. Last summer we spent, but we also sold. So that was pretty much even in terms of money going around. So I think it's going to be the same thing this summer.
See that, and that kind of concerns me. Like, I do think it's hard to predict what Oaktree is going to do, but I think it's also maybe not that hard to predict what they're not going to do. Like, I don't think they're going to go out and buy a Pavard type player. I don't think they're going to go out and spend that kind of money on one player. And if we are going to have to sell to buy, what concerns me with that is we don't have a lot of assets that I think we should be selling. And I know, like, we've talked about devrij a little bit. Maybe you get 5 to 10 million there. You could try to sell dumfries, but that creates a massive hole for you in that right wing back position, which you would then have to spend to replace. And so it concerns me that we would have to sell assets to buy in this year in particular, because I just don't think we have a lot of expendable assets. And then the one other thing with Oaktree that's a bit concerning to me right now, it's not so much kind of what their preferences in the transfer kind of business. Like, if they want to buy younger players with potential and on low wages and on low transfer fees, like, that's okay. I think a lot of us want to invest in youth players and maybe even youth prospects that are not very well known at this point. Like, I think it's okay that we spent money, and it seems like Bisek ended up being a pretty good option for us. But the thing that concerns me with that is that once your ownership or once your owners start to interfere in the transfer window with certain profiles of players, it kind of has to translate on the pitch as well. Like, they're not going to bring in all these players because they just want to, like, have them ride on the bench. It's like a bad investment for them. So they're going to want those players to also play. And I can't think of a worse coach than Inzaghi to, like, roll the dice on unproven young players. Like, I just don't think he's going to do that. This is somebody who would ride, a 37, 38-year-old Mkhitaryan more than playing anyone really young off the bench. I know, like, injuries forced his hand a little bit with Bisek, but he's not the type of coach who's going to try to, like, integrate a young, unproven, unknown player. And so I'm fine with us taking that approach in the transfer market, because you kind of hope to hit a home run by not spending that much. But what worries me is, like, how insistent are they then going to be to have those players also play, and they're going to find a reluctant head coach, a reluctant manager for that sort of a process. So that's the one potential conflict I can see coming down the pike if they're going to insist on this sort of approach.
It's probably worthwhile to mention some of the other moves that are in the works. The I don't know if I want to call this noteworthy, but the largest transfer fee one, which is Tanner Tessmann, the American, who spent last year in Serie B for Venezia. Of course, they got promoted this year, so we're working on this arrangement with them where we would take Tessmann, purchase him outright, then loan him back to them for the season, so we'd get a year of Serie A football. There are reports that we have total agreement with Venezia, but we cannot reach agreement with the player himself, whether it be on wages or the arrangement. He doesn't want to spend another year playing for Venezia. He wants to join a bigger club, work his way into the squad. I don't know. Maybe he's afraid of working for Di Francesco, who noted horrible manager. Irfan, have you seen this guy play? Tessmann doesn't play much at all for the senior national team. So just curious if you've been able to catch any of his games.
No, I mean I've only seen him. I've only seen like his highlights. And once again, I don't really get why we need a player like this. I'm not sure I'm understanding what the project is.
You're just worried because he has this similar profile to Asllani.
well, again, in fairness, if and I said this, like if Asllani is the type of player that you could move on from and you could get like 15 mil and and invested in other places, including this guy, maybe. But I don't see. Yeah, I just other than the fact that he's American, I don't really see why we need this player or this profile of a player, especially if you're not even going to have him next year. I don't know. I just don't get it. I don't have a strong feeling one way or another because I just don't know enough about the player. But from the highlights and from what I've seen and from what I've read about him, I don't see what the appeal is.
It seems like he's more regista than anything else. So likes being on the ball. I saw a few stats where he had really great passing statistics last year in the second division. I forget what they exactly were. I should wrote these down, but something to the effect of led the league in passes, had a high completion percentage. It's hard. You can't scout box scores because we all remember, Medel, who was a great example of someone who led the league in passes because he had like 2-yard dinks to teammates standing nearby. But it seems like that's maybe the reason for the upside. I actually do like the model of loaning this guy right back to a Serie A club who values him. He started almost every game for them last year, so that clearly they'd plan on continue playing him, which is nice because we struggled to get our loanees minutes. But yeah, it just feels like a weird use of $6 or $7 million, doesn't it? Given the other issues in the squad.
It's 100% Oaktree political move to sell the American ownership. I do not support it. We're not at a stage where we should be buying 22, 23-year-olds from Serie B. For what it's worth, he actually did play in Serie A a couple of seasons ago when Venezia were in the league, but they went straight back down, and now we spent a year in Serie B. And I guess I just have a lot of doubts as to how much value we can extract from someone like this, given, again, where we claim to be or claim to want to be. We got to the knockouts in the Champions League, obviously won the Scudetto in dominant fashion. Our goals are pretty clear for everyone to see. We should be looking to retain the Scudetto, and we should be looking to go further in the Champions League. Again, how is a 22-year-old from Serie B supposed to really help us do that unless he's like some prodigious talent, which I just I don't think he is. So yeah, I can't really say I support the move, and that money would be better spent elsewhere.
To me, it looks like we've been scouting this guy, and then we are betting he's gonna like blossom next season somewhere, and we either use him and send Asllani away, or then we just sell the guy for a profit. That's what it looks like to me. But yeah, I'm a bit. I'm interested to see what's the deal with this guy, because I haven't seen him play, only the highlights as you guys. And he looks like a regista. He has a good shot, uses both feet very well, and has these kind of long passes like Asllani. So
selling Asllani is harder done. Is easier said than done now, because his market value has gone up as well. So apparently valued now at 18 million. Again, transfer market is not the gospel, but still, 18 mil. It's not like who, we now are obliged to get something of that figure, if not higher. But again, I just have trouble seeing us selling him outright for 18, 20 million. That seems like a bit much, but it's a good thing that he's valued higher, indicates that he has developed in a market sense. But it's going to be difficult to move Aslani on.
Yeah, and the other thing I don't understand about this Tessmann guy is, again, I don't think Team USA is that great. I mean, they've already gotten bounced out of the Copa, and I know they have a decent midfield with Musa and Adams and McKinney, but this guy has never he's had 2 appearances in the U.S. national team, and I don't even think he's come in as a sub very often, if at all. So again, someone who's having that much trouble breaking through on a very mediocre USA team. And maybe that's harsh because he's still pretty young, but I don't know. I don't really see the appeal, and especially given the potential holes and lack of resources that we have, it's just a bit of a head scratcher. I'm not sure what the appeal is.
He is a lot more physical. He's a lot taller than
Yeah.
Aslani, a lot
Yeah, I
better
think that's
built, and just a lot stronger in the way he plays. I also watched a quick highlight reel of him. I mean, because we all would have seen him 2 years ago in Serie A, but I don't remember him at all. I remember the other American, Buzio, the guy with the afro. I remember Miko's countryman, Pohan Paulo, or whatever his name is. I remember some other players that they have. I do not remember Tessmann standing out at all. So I watched a highlight reel the other week, and I did notice he is quite stocky, not stocky. He's quite tall and quite well built, and he seems to have a lot stronger ball retention thanks to his physical traits than Aslani. Having said that, don't want to revisit this conversation again, but the Euro was a good indication that Aslani may be being misused as a regista anyway. So there's that. But it would be, wouldn't it feel unjust to be Aslani? You come to Inter, you're miscast, misused in this role as regista, and then you get replaced by some rando American. So
yeah. I think that Tessmann's physicality is one point which is like beneficial for him in if we had this conversation like Tessmann versus Aslani, and that could help his case. And regarding selling Aslani or sending him somewhere, that would be for next summer, not this summer, because if we get this Tessmann, he's gonna be loaned out anyway. So Aslani will stay probably next season anyway, or this season anyway. But yeah, it's interesting. I kind of like this because this is Sterling's favorite, the defensive central midfielder who's like a physical power, and Tessmann has already also the passes in him. So I kind of like this, but yeah, I share the concerns that what's the real deal with this guy and the plan how it's gonna pan out at when Inter owns this guy.
He also seems like a bit of a dead ball specialist in some of the highlights. Like he scored a couple of direct free kicks. But if we're being honest, like I don't think we can expect anything to come of this signing in terms of long-term impact on the club. I just want to dispel the notion like there's no chance we're signing this guy strictly for like marketing purposes. Like I've seen some Inter fans speculate. Let me tell you, there was absolutely zero marketability for Tanner Tessmann in America. I don't. He's from Alabama. I don't think more than 100 people from Alabama would recognize him if you walk down the streets. There is no marketability here, guys. Like
no one in Times Square wearing Tessmann jerseys, Tessmann Venezia jerseys.
They are stylish jerseys. I know you're a fan, but no, there is absolutely no marketability potential here, especially for a player who doesn't regularly play for the national team. So there's no built-in good vibes, unfortunately.
He's still playing for the under-23s. That's why he didn't go to Copa America. Apparently, the other 23s requested him. But let's put our money where our collective mouth is. Do we think this deal will even get done?
That's a good question. I feel like it will because it sounds like the player really, I don't want to say believes in himself, but he wants to take the next step in his career. So maybe the solution is we loan him to a different a better Serie A club. Like, I don't know, I'm picking something out random. Who I don't know,
Milan.
Genoa, Genoa, Torino was going to be my suggestion. Milan is also a great mid-table Serie A club. He could play straight at, learn from the American Messi.
We learned from other fantastic American national heroes at Milan, like Musa.
So I think it gets done. It just seems like there's too much. Like, we already have total agreement with the club. It's just convincing the player you don't blame Tessmann for wanting to take the next step in his career, right? Like, he doesn't want to be part of a
I
yo-yo
do.
club.
I do. I say, look, mate, calm the fuck down. You're from Alabama.
Sit down, man.
Yeah, exactly. You're from Alabama. What do you know about missing penalties in the round of 16 in the Champions League, huh? Sit down, know your place. Just play for another year in Serie A, get some experience, and and then maybe we'll give you a preseason shout. At the modest price of 7 million euros. That's how it should go. So,
well, after seeing Sommer's performance yesterday, it's no wonder we lost a penalty shootout. Am I right?
That's right.
All right. So I think that more or less sums up what's happened in the mercato the past week or so. Nothing's moving particularly fast right now. The Zielinski signing was announced. We're still, unless I missed something this morning, we're still waiting for the Taremi signing to be announced. So dominoes are still falling. We'll see what happens. The other thing we wanted to hit on this week was just recapping Euro performances, Copa America performances for the guys still out on duty. Miko, I know you wanted to talk about Hakan's performance yesterday against the Dutch.
Yeah, that was a great match. Like overall, I liked the pace of the match and the events there and yeah, calhanoglu he's very important for his national team, and he was all over the place yesterday. And then the Inter players on the other side, Dumfries and Vrij. Dumfries had a bit shaky first half. Maybe he was maybe partly fault for the goal, like screwing up the offside and so on. But then in the second half, he was really stepping up and played well on the right flank. Kept the what's the Turkish guy on their left side. I don't remember. He's been very good all tournament, but Dumfries kept him there pretty well, and then he ended up assisting the winning goal, and yeah, did some great blocks here and there, and then well, devrij, he had the man of the match performance, great blocks all over the place, and didn't I don't remember, did he like do any mistakes in the match. He was very calm and composed there, and of course scored the great header from the corner kick. And yeah, what else? Well, yeah, you can continue.
Does anyone else share my concern about Sommer? I know I'm just fanning the flames of war like usual, but I do mean it. I swear the last 10 goals he's conceded have all been really soft on his part. They just, every goal he's conceded recently, I've been like, he should have done better. And like, I don't think that's me just being hypercritical. I really think he's just not been great since like the kind of 75% of the way through last season. And at the Euros as well, I mean, as mentioned, he didn't save a single penalty. Of all the penalty shootouts that took place across Copa America and the Euros, he was one of the few goalkeepers that failed to save a single penalty. He didn't even guess right. I think he guessed right twice out of the 5 penalties he faced. And yeah, as mentioned, he's just not looked good for us either. So I don't know. I think he's on the way down. To be honest, I think he's kind of fallen off a bit.
I don't know. He looked like a brick wall against Italy.
Well, I think Italy looked like a brick wall against Italy.
I don't know if I share the same thoughts as you on Sommer. I don't have the memory you have in terms of remembering individual goals, to be honest. You're you have photographic memory almost when it comes to that stuff. But I will say, it wouldn't surprise me if you're right. I mean, this guy's getting up there in age, and there's a reason why we signed a keeper who we can eventually view as a summer replacement. So I hope you're not right, but at least we're doing the right thing where we signed a guy who has Serie starting experience. And if summer does slip, at least we're prepared for it, right? This is kind of the inverse of what we're talking about a center back, where if a Cherby finally shows his age, there's no backup plan. At least if summer shows his age, we're prepared for it.
I think on the summer point, it's that I think you're being a little harsh. On the penalty point, at least, I think it's like completely irrelevant that he didn't save any penalties because
because we're never going to score a penalty in a penalty shootout, so we'll always lose.
I think the biggest thing with Summer is that like what's really prevented him from probably being one of the greatest keepers of his generation is that he's just not 3 inches taller. And I think had he had 3 inches more in his height and his frame, I think he could have saved at least one of the penalties. Because in penalties, especially, like the size really matters of being able to get to those corners. And I feel like we've seen a lot of keepers who are really good penalty savers and just shitty keepers in general. So the penalty stuff I think is irrelevant. On the goal he conceded to Saka, I think that was also like a really, really difficult goal to stop. I don't think he could have done much. There are some moments where he has that like Handanovic style stare down where there's no attempt really being made to get to a position. But I do feel like at least so far in most of those positions, it's because it truly is unsavable. So I'm not that concerned about him. I think he's still got a year or two left of pretty high quality stuff. But I do agree with Andrew and to an extent with Jay that he is getting up there now. So we do have to be kind of quick on the trigger to pull him and not go through, 2 years of what we went through with Handanovic, very obviously declining. So, as I'm sure Andrew can relate, like us Americans are very concerned whenever we see some sort of decline, and we pull the trigger very quickly on that sort of stuff.
Fellas, is it gay? I mean, is it wrong to to expect penalty heroics from your keeper, considering we are realistically, we are one of the 10 biggest clubs of all time. Intis history is glorious, and we've always had elite keepers among the pantheon of our legends, whether it's Julio Cesar, Handanovic, Walter Zenga, or Mike Maignan. I'm kidding. We've always had these amazing keepers who we can rely on for special moments, such as saving penalties. And this is only 80% influenced by my fury at England going through. But is it wrong to expect penalty heroics? Isn't that what you kind of pay your keepers for? Isn't that the kind of difference between being a kind of run-of-the-mill keeper playing for like a 10th to 5th place side or being like an elite keeper that plays at a championship winning, Champions League contending top 10 of all time kind of club? Like Donnarumma, for example, I knew that Donnarumma was going to save some penalties. He did. He came up clutch and saved a penalty from one of the greatest midfielders of all time in Modric against Croatia. And obviously, came up clutch for Italy against England in the last Euros. And he's always kind of had these clutch moments. Like I said, I am still very salty that Switzerland lost to England, but
I hate England more than anyone. But I think from the goalkeeping side, I think it's just sheer dumb luck. I don't know. Miko, Andrew, what do you guys think?
Are you now forgetting Sommer's great, almost miraculous save against Gonzalez when we won Fiorentina 0-1?
You mean when Gonzalez goes for the same penalty 6 times in a row in Sommer?
I was going to say, that was not a miracle save.
Barely kind of fell over to his side the way someone would comfortably get into bed.
But seriously, I think those England penalties, they were great. I think looking how England plays, it feels like they've been training the penalties and nothing else for the whole pre-tournament retreat or whatever, and the whole spring when they've been together. Because I think they really paid attention this time to the penalties. That's how I feel. They were great penalties, and I don't know where they how savable they were. But yeah, I get your point that yeah, we should have a keeper who at least sometimes saves a penalty, because that's what we need, and we've almost like we get used to it time to time. At Handanovic, when Handanovic was here, I think, well, at some point he was like maybe the best penalty saver in the whole world, and then the decline went going on, and it kind of dropped off a bit. But I think he kept saving penalties here and there, and yeah, so I see the point. I see the point, but I don't know. Maybe Sommer's height, like Irfan mentioned, maybe that's a bit of a weakness there, definitely, especially with the penalties.
I'm not concerned about this. Like I said, there is no scenario where this team is capable of winning a penalty shootouts. I understand Summer saving an occasional penalty in the league would be helpful, but did you guys notice Taram wasn't even picked as one of France's penalty takers the other day? I believe he was on the pitch at the time, and they just passed over him entirely, which maybe speaks to he's not a good penalty taker. Apparently, we don't have much data to support his experience. So anyway, we're never going to win a penalty shootout because we can't even find 5 guys capable of taking penalties.
You just need Hakan to take all 5, and then we'll be okay.
Yeah, basically. So I'm not. I get your point though. Like Summer is the worst penalty saver we've had in my lifetime.
It's not like you're not concerned; it's that you've already given up.
Yes, exactly. I've accepted defeat, much like Milan fans heading into next season.
You're concerned, but you're just, it's irrelevant. So you just kind of make it that way. Yeah, I feel that.
I do think there's this is something I used to be on Irfan's side, that the goalies, it was mostly luck for them on penalty shootouts, but I think I've graduated more into there's a skill involved side of things. I look at Donnarumma, who's also ginormous, I will add, but he's great at saving penalties. He's saved.
There's an aura to it. The goalkeeper's got to have an aura,
I mean, the Argentina
aura 10,000. Haven't you seen these Instagram posts? Bro lost 30,000 aura yesterday.
I have not seen these posts. I'm not terminally online, but that sounds horrible. But remember, like, Buffon was always like the worst at saving penalties. I don't think I ever saw him guess right once in my lifetime. Even when they won in 06, he didn't save the penalty. It hit the crossbar.
Yeah.
But the thing with the penalty thing, I still, from a goalkeeper's perspective, right? If a player goes in, even if the goalkeeper guesses the right way, if it's a well-taken penalty and hit to the right spot, there's no chance. Like, even the greatest penalty stoppers are not going to stop some of the penalties where it's like a side netting, either, top corner or like bottom corner. Like, so yes, there's probably some where if the goalkeeper guesses the right way and it's a poorly taken penalty, they're going to save it. But I feel like any goalkeeper can get to those. And as far as like, did they
any goalkeeper except Sommer?
No, but even Sommer, like, as far as oh, they guessed the right way, isn't that purely a function of like reading some of the body language going into the penalty shot, but also
you see the photo from the Euro yesterday where Pickford had
exactly. Also the preparation, right? Like so I still think it's totally dumb luck. I mean, it's you can guess the right way, but you still need that shot to be savable in order to save it. And then the marginal difference between a goalkeeper who guesses the right way but can't save a savable shot, I think is too low to be significant. I mean, it's just me thinking out loud.
Guessing the right way is like 50% of it, as you rightly said. I mean, look at Shaqiri's penalty yesterday. Pickford guessed the right way, but Shaqiri put it into the side netting, so it was out of Pickford's reach. But better to do that than to just not, come close to it. Obviously, it's just the same result whether he dives correctly or not. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think I'm at a line here for kind of wanting miracle saves from the occasional miracle save from an Inter keeper, because the title of Inter goalkeeper is like a famous, a title bestowed upon select legends in this club's prestigious and simultaneously ignominious history. So
How many did Mike Mignon save, by the way?
I told you none, but he still won.
That's because he has good penalty takers.
Perhaps, except Taram.
Yeah.
But I think if if we continue this conversation, still
We'll be
I
here
think
all night.
Sommer's yeah, so Sommer's height is an issue with the current these penalty taking rules when they weaken the goalie can't like interfere anywhere, and they need to keep on the line, and then these penalty takers, they can do this stupid fucking stutter stepping and all kinds of tricks there
Yeah.
to kind of
I hate that. I hate that
confuse
so
yeah
much.
Dude,
yeah.
watching Brazil yesterday with the stutter steps, I was losing my mind. I can't. It's unbelievable. Like I
I'm glad
get
they
it.
lost.
Like yeah, I get it. You could do a little bit of that, like run up that you do. You could do a little bit of that hesitation, but these guys, like it was like every penalty taker was like taking 10 seconds to like unload a shot. It was painful to watch. It's disgusting. It's gross. Like, I don't know.
Pogba taking 10-meter run up, 10-meter run up with 300 steps because he's taking 5 steps every every 2
and
centimeters.
it like literally gets to a point where like both the goalkeeper and the penalty taker are just like stopped, and you're like, what is going on? Like, what am I
I
watching
thought
here?
they changed that. I thought they changed the rule so that you can't stop on the way to the ball.
That's what I thought,
but
but I
but
swear,
I think the rule is that you can't stop, but the player can like keep moving really slow, so that the
Oh, what's the
kind of
fucking
move.
difference they'll do?
Yeah. I would definitely I would like ban that kind of a stupid stutter stepping,
yeah, it's really dumb.
because it's made too easy for the takers at this point.
Well, Jorginho has a bone to pick with
I
you.
was just about to say, ask Jorginho about that.
Yeah, we're making fun of Jan Sommer's penalty saving abilities. Meanwhile, he saved 2 penalties against Jorginho that are the sole reason Italy did not qualify for the last World Cup. So,
One more thing on the Euros, I will say, it's good that there are at least some Inter players still around, and even in the Copa, we still have Lautaro too. And I think overall Inter players have done pretty well. But like from my perspective, this Euro Cup has been extremely frustrating to watch. I mean, the performance of like the bigger clubs, like watching France and England play, is just painful. And honestly, even Spain, I know they've been the most convincing of probably the bigger clubs, but even watching them play is incredibly frustrating. It's almost like all of a sudden, other than probably the Netherlands, though even they have their moments, like every player, every attacking player is just an individual isolated out on some island and incapable of like linking up and passing, especially with England and France. It's unbelievable. It's like the equivalent of watching in the NBA, like watching basketball. It's like players taking turn doing ISO, just ignoring all the other players on the pitch. Like it's crazy to me that these are like functioning coherent teams, because it seems like they literally just take turns playing like one man football, and like they can't figure out a way to play in a teammate or to set somebody up. Like Mbappe has been criminal in this. Like he can easily take on one defender. A lot of times he can easily take on 2 defenders, and instead of laying the ball or trying to look for a teammate who's wide open, he'll just consistently shoot into the legs of whatever player is in the box, and it happens like 7 times a game. It's incredibly frustrating. And England's the same way. Foden, like supposedly some world beater, has done absolutely nothing, because it's the same thing with him. He just dribbles until he stops dribbling because he runs into a player or he shoots into a player. It's like these guys have like the like the playmaking IQ of like a Neanderthal. I don't get it. It's unbelievably frustrating to watch these guys play.
Yeah, I think we are too used to Inzaghi masterclass at Inter, so that's why this looks like shit, but
we've
it
grown
really
spoiled with
looks
the
like
champagne football.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been frustrating to watch those teams play in general. It's just there's not a lot of teamwork going on. There's not a lot of playmaking going on. It's just all individual I'll keep dribbling or I'll keep shooting until I shoot into someone or dribble into someone. And there's a reason France has like not scored an open play goal, I think, in these 5 matches or whatever they've played. And there's a reason that England's been total and utter garbage every single match they've played. So I don't know. It's shocking to me that this is, you know, a great display of talent from teams that are, you know, packed with like supposedly world-class players.
Who do you want to win the tournament?
I'm hoping for a France-Netherlands final.
But still France.
Oh, I can't root for Spain. Can't root for Spain, and definitely rooting against England. So for me, what I'm hoping for is a France-Netherlands final. Yeah, with Netherlands winning, which would be amazing. But I think what's actually going to end up happening is going to be Spain versus England in the final, and then I don't know who's going to win. I hope both teams somehow lose.
And then England winning on penalties
Yeah.
after 0-0.
Yeah.
I don't think England's physically capable of winning a finals on penalties. But the only correct answer to this is the Netherlands. Any other answer is unacceptable.
Netherlands with a Tijani Reinders screamer.
You know what? I'll take that. I'll take it.
You know what? Lesser of all the evils.
Would be nice for a, you know, Dumfries assist to devrij, wouldn't it? But, you know.
All right. So, Jay's hot betting tips. Jay, what's going to happen in the Copa America over the next week? Give us, we're the 4 semifinalists. I believe it's Uruguay, Colombia, Argentina, Canada. Break it down for me.
Canada to beat Argentina on penalties with you-know-who missing. No, I'm kidding. It's got to be... Wait, so Uruguay and Argentina are on the other side of the bracket, right? It has to be a Uruguay-Argentina final. I just think both teams have the personnel, the skill, the mettle. How do you pronounce that word? METTLE. Anyway, both teams have that to get to the final and not, you know, have any hiccups along the way, like Brazil or Italy, for example. But
USA.
I don't want to be part of this podcast anymore.
But I think there's a decent chance Uruguay take it. I'm still leaning to Argentina, though. I think it'll be a fairly low-scoring affair, maybe like a 1-1 or 1-0. I really don't like the fact that there's no extra time. It kind of takes away from the spectacle of penalties. It just feels really cheap, in my opinion. I don't know, maybe that's just like some boomer attitude, but part of the kind of the spectacle of penalties is that the players are absolutely exhausted at the end of it, having played under 20 minutes, you know. So there's extra drama, there's extra tension, there's that whole mental fatigue weighing in on it as well, adds to the stress and to the heightened kind of sensation of it all. But when you take away that, it's just like, it just feels like some fucking preseason tournament, you know. So that was my rant about the omission of extra time in the Copa America. But anyway, I think Argentina will still win it. I still think it's like a 60-40 kind of Argentina to Uruguay likelihood at this rate. And my bet's on a 1-0 Argentina win in the final.
Jay, I will take your rant and I will extend to it. I think penalties in general bullshit. In these international tournaments, I think they should go back to golden goal. Why not go back to just ending the match with a goal? It'd be incredible. It would be incredible. I say play the extra time, play the 120, and then after 120, just go to golden goal. I think it'd be amazing. You would see these teams take on these like risks to try to end the match because the players would be playing for like 200 minutes. It'd be like amazing to see versus like the penalties.
I mean, you're ranting about how bad France were. Can you imagine France after playing 200 minutes? Can you imagine how the dog shit quality of football you'd be witnessing? Like, why don't we go back to that like 1-on-1 with the keeper shootout? Do you remember that thing?
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah. The American hockey style shootouts where like everybody can move. Like the goalkeeper can like, you know, come up to like, but exactly. But I agree with you on the Copa, like not having extra time until the final it's BS. I don't know why that's the rule. I'm curious if anyone knows why that's the rule, but it's a really stupid rule because when you go from just 90 minutes plus extra injury time straight to to penalties, it's like completely, I don't know, underwhelming. It's also like anticlimactic.
Weak.
Yeah, it's weak. And I would much rather have some version of a golden goal back than penalties altogether, because it's just, I don't think you don't have the excitement of like that walk off
Yeah.
in football. Like, you don't have that excitement at all. It's like the penalty is the closest thing you get to excitement. And it sucks. It's nerve wracking. And a lot of times it's totally random.
I don't mind penalties. I think like there are inherent kind of ingrained part of football. And so, if there's nothing, if neither team is capable of finding a winner when actual football is being played, then you kind of got to boil it down to the stationary art of kicking a ball into the net, which is what football boils down to in its simplest form. So I don't mind penalties. And like I said, getting rid of the extra time just gets rid of all that kind of mental stress and the heightened fragility of it all, which is part of it, part of the nerves, part of the tension, part of the atmosphere. Did you say that the extra time has been removed until the final? So that means there will be extra time in the Copa final?
I think there is. Yeah, I think that's the rule, that the final itself will have. Yeah,
right.
Will have extra time.
Better than nothing, but still.
Yeah. All right. So no golden goal takers here. Just me.
I'd sign up for a golden goal and regular extra time. I'm fine with penalties, but I want the extra time to be golden goal.
Also, if they find a goal, the game's over in like the from the 90th to the 120th.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because it's also the penalty thing. Like, in the match yesterday, Uruguay went down to 10 men, and as soon as they went down, it was obvious what was going to happen. They were just going to grind it out to try to get to penalties. And so it's just, again, it becomes predictable, especially if you're like a smaller team with less talent. Like if you're like a Slovenia or like a Slovakia or something, it really does give you like a ton of incentive to try to like play for penalties if you're going up against a bigger club. And like, yeah, there's some excitement to the penalty shootout and to the fact that the smaller, nation might end up winning or something like that. But I missed the excitement of like a walk-off like goal, like someone scored a goal and the whole match just ended. I mean, that's incredible.
Well, Miko, you're old. You tell me. I know they used to have a golden goal rule because Italy lost to it against France back in like 2000. So why'd they get rid of the golden goal, Miko?
I remember it being extremely defensive the whole extra time when there was the golden goal rule. I remember there was some golden goals scored like the Trezeguet goal you mentioned, and then what else?
Did they have golden goal in 2002 when my countrymen eliminated you fools?
I think they did, right?
When An Jung-hwan outleapt the greatest defender of all time to score a header. effectively ending his football career by getting kicked out of where did he play? What did he play?
Wait, he scored over Harry Maguire?
That was good.
Jesus, I can't remember where he played. It was Perugia, that's it. But the Perugia president like basically tore up his contract after he eliminated Italy.
Didn't the referee from that match got like convicted for smuggling cocaine and was like accused of match fixing, I will point out.
Irrelevant.
It was 100% match fixing. It was totally match fixed.
You can't, just because he did that doesn't, has no correlation on his officiating of that match.
Okay, I'm just checking. There were actually, golden goal was in 1998 and 2002. And there were like one goal in 1998, and then 2002 there were three golden goals. Yeah, wait a minute. Was the An Jung-hwan that was golden goal?
I seem to recall it being a golden goal, but I can't remember for sure.
It was.
Wikipedia says so, but
yeah.
maybe.
I know Trezeguet scored one, and then Will Tord or someone scored one. Like, that's what I remember.
Yeah, well, it was Trezeguet. Will Tord was the equalizer in the same match. But yeah, I didn't like it back then. I think it pushed the matches to be too defensive in the extra time. So no way, no golden goal. This is final like what we have now, except the France and England isn't doing it right. Well, they are doing it right because they are heading to the final soon, maybe. But I don't like how they play. But yeah, that's another discussion.
Well, I hope you enjoyed our incoherent podcast of us sitting around musing about things. I enjoyed participating in it.
This might have been the most kind of haphazard collection of topics we've covered.
Yeah, good luck putting together the breaks for the segments on Spotify, Miko, because we are all over the wall here. But if you are still with us, I commend your listening abilities, and we'll be back next week with some actual coherent thoughts, hopefully.
But did we forget Lautaro? I think we forgot Lautaro, what he did.
Well, he didn't do anything.
What did he do?
Yeah, I was gonna say, he didn't do anything in their knockout game.
I think he has scored 4 goals at Copa America at this point. So
yeah, we talked about that last
mentioning.
I have like a 10-minute rant ready for Lautaro's treatment by Argentina, but we should wait for the next week, I think.
Once Argentina lifts the trophy, we can dive into that.
Give us a small preview.
It's incredibly disrespectful that he doesn't play every minute and start every minute for Argentina. And it's enough for me to want Argentina to lose because they keep playing Julian Alvarez, who is a respectable player. I like him, but he is no Lautaro. The fact that Lautaro doesn't play every minute of that match every time is unbelievable to me.
Okay, mate. Okay.
I'm not going to lie. I don't know how to transition off that.
But he did start last match, didn't he?
Yeah, I have a lot to say about this. Don't worry, we will get into this rant next week. I promise you. I will go back in time to Argentina's team selection in 2010 and further on, and how they've consistently messed up when it comes to Inter.
Disrespected Inter players.
Yes, absolutely.
Irfan Salty, Mauro Icardi has not gotten more minutes with Argentina.
Yeah.
Do you remember when Maradona select Martin Palomo because he had a dream that Martin Palomo would?
Yep. And gave him more minutes than Diego Milito. Yeah.
All right. Well, tune in next week when Canada beats Argentina 5-3 in penalties.
Goodbye.
See you later.
Bye.
Come on.